gives me great pleasure to sit here with this gentleman here. I think for those of us who've known him for his entire career, pretty much, he's someone that's kind of been very focused, very determined, and kind of, you know, through adversity, through changes in the music industry, someone who's kind of stuck to his guns and kind of maintained his kind of signature sound and almost like single-minded, arrogant, determined self. Which ironically are the characteristics of a music producer, artist in this climate. These are characteristics that you definitely need. So without further ado, Dego. So I thought what we'd do, you know, wouldn't be kind of like a typical kind of interview situation. You know, there's a lot about you online. But what I thought we would do would be kind of select a few of the tracks that you've made in the past and kind of talk through your thinking production-wise then, and perhaps give some context culturally. That's all right with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Is that all right?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah? So just to dip a little bit into that, you kind of started off in a kind of whole sound system thing at school, right?
Yeah. I was in the sound system and collecting records way before that. Parents are Jamaican, so it's reggae and soul in the house. So that's how I started up there, and then got friends who were in the sound that, you know, oh, Dego's got a couple of records, let's rope him in. So started paying my dues there.
So your in was having a nice record collection?
Well, the beginnings of it. It wasn't that many at that stage, but, you know, it was the start of it, and a willingness to carry speakers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Strong arm then?
Yeah, you had to pay your dues. Yeah, you had to do all that.
So your first music making experience was what?
After being on pirate radio, I used to play quite a lot of breaks and stuff, and at that time in the mid-'80s, no, towards the late 80s, 87, 88, hip-hop was very funky based and sampling a lot of either disco breaks, funk breaks and so on. And because of that, I think that's why they wrote me in to start making some music.
So it just happened you might have some breaks?
Oh yeah, he's got some breaks. So come mess around in you know, your mate's bedroom, and he had a S950 sampler and a 626 drum machine to trigger it all with. And we used to have to pitch samples like 45 RPMs to get as much, because the memory was minute them days. You had to be very
clever,
clever with it, yeah.
So you'd pitch up at 45, and then that way you get a lot more sampling and then tune it down.
Yeah.
And then you get some aliasing, which was also quite nice, I think.
Yeah.
All right. But I guess, you know, with your roots in kind of hip-hop making, albeit, I guess, roped into it, your first recordings were actually more up-tempo, more aggressive, I guess.
Yeah, the first few records we released at the time, well, they came about because we was part of that crew who, like, London Posse, Cutmaster Swift, Pogo, and so on, which was the London hip-hop based community. And they used to have demos sitting around for years, and we used to think, we ain't waiting to get signed by, you know, EMI or some shit like that. If we ever make any stuff, we'll just put our money together and just do it ourselves. And that's how it sort of all started. And at that time, people like Big Daddy Kane were big, and you had the Chicago acid house thing going on. So I think the influences of those two things is how we, you know, done our kind of hip house kind of thing that we was releasing first. Yeah.
So I guess we're talking around kind of 87, 88, because I guess, you know, kind of Tyree Cooper.
Yeah,
kind
of things. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was a really exciting time at that time, because I remember distinctly that the whole UK rap scene was exciting with a lot of the artists that you've mentioned, and obviously on one side, you know, the big there was a lot of significant American releases at the time.
Yeah.
We also had this kind of emerging house kind of scene. So I mean, why did you choose to kind of make a hybrid? Why didn't you just maybe stick to house, or maybe, you know, explore making, you know, hip hop?
I think we absorbed everything, and, you know, you play B lines naturally, like a reggae man. You like, because you're a B-boy, you like the funky breaks. You know, there's all these different things that you just absorbed and they just came out naturally the way they came out. You know. So you kind of took from everywhere and channeled it your own way. You know. Those days, things were not so. It wasn't so premeditated. It wasn't so calculated. Oh, I'm going to be this and I'm going to do that, and that's the path I'm going to go on. It wasn't like that. It was just like we were just guys messing around in a mate's bedroom, making whatever. And you know, if it came out good, it came out good. If it came out crap, so be it. Next one. You know. It wasn't like a mission for, like, you know. It wasn't even looked at. It wasn't even a career. It's just a hobby.
Sure.
That's all it was.
Okay. But you still were, you know, astute enough to kind of think that actually, rather than waiting for major labels to, you know, sign you.
Yeah, we saw what happened to our friends. Yeah, we didn't want to be in that scenario. No.
Yeah, of course. So I guess the first couple of releases were, you know, Kirk's Nightmare and Journey's Delight, kind of hardcore, jungle infused kind of recordings.
Yeah.
Were these with Four Hero Records, right?
Those were Four Hero Records. Yeah.
So how did the whole Mark Mac thing come about?
Well, Mark was one of the guys that wrote me into going in the studio with
so
Gus's house, because Gus had the sampler.
Okay, so Gus had the sampler.
Yeah, and Mark and Ian used to run Strong Island Radio, which was a pirate radio station, and I got onto their station, and then they used to listen to my show, and they got me in to come and work with Gus at doing, you know, messing about on his 950.
Of course, okay. Brilliant. So what was it about working with Mark and Gus that kept you guys together? Because a lot of the time, you know, particularly at that time, a lot of people worked in isolation, you know, or worked, you know.
It was just fun, that's all, just fun. A mutual love for a lot of the same types of music, and, you know, just having fun. Like, you know, I'm like 17, 18 then, you know. It's just having a laugh, basically, yeah.
Is there a studio moment that you can share from back then?
Gus's mum coming upstairs and telling us to leave because the music's too loud and so on and so forth, you know.
Okay. And was it a Jamaican kind of, you had to leave?
Gus's parents are from, I think, Trinidad, yeah.
Okay. So it was one of them...
Yeah, you're getting told. So we had to leave.
Basically, okay. Was the tune finished, though?
Huh?
Was the track finished?
No, it has to get saved. Oh, God, remember 3.5-inch discs? Saving it on the 3.5-inch disc, and then you had to save it on the Atari on 3.5-inch disc. You lot don't know, man. 3.5-inch discs.
We're going to get there, don't worry.
Wow.
Do you want me to pull one out for you? I haven't got one here.
Oh.
I've still got some
You
left.
still got your discs?
Yes.
I've got some of my...
Yes.
I ain't got on a ST that works anymore. My one.
I've got one of those as well. I'll lend you mine.
For real?
Yeah. If you want. But you'd have to... But it would have to... It'd have to be attached to a MIDI keyboard, and it'd have to be attached to an S950. That's why I'll lend it to you. We can talk about it after.
That's easy.
Yeah? Okay, cool. We can talk about it. But I'm glad you mentioned the Atari, because obviously, you know, signature setups at that time were the Atari 520 ST, you know, MIDI'd up to an S950, or if you were a big man, you had an S1000, and, you know, whatever other keyboards or drum machines you could find. But what's really good about you is that, you know, you were using, Creator at that time, right?
Creator.
Yeah. Yeah, which is a predecessor to Logic, as you don't know. And you're still using Logic now to this day,
Logic,
right?
I still use Logic now.
Okay. So from early Four Hero recordings, exploring jungle, you know, hybrids, which is interesting because I think for you, you know, given you're somebody who always wants to flip the script and not do what everybody else, you know, again, getting back to this whole Dego being stubborn thing, you know, you were stubborn even back then. You know, you weren't making typical, you know, jungle, you weren't making typical breakbeat, you know. So even when it comes to a lot of your reinforced releases, they obviously were in the same kind of, I guess, category as other jungle stroke drum and bass records, but, you know, reinforced had a particular sound. Was that intentional?
I don't think it was intentional, but I think it was just a case of being confident about who you are. I think we was rightly or wrongly, we was quite sure of ourselves of what we was doing, and we believed that was the way to do things. Jungle and drum and bass at that time was a very exciting period, and it was meant to be like, it was the new frontier. It was the edge of electronic music and so on and so forth. You know, it was like, that's how it was perceived at that time. You might laugh at it now, but that's how it was at that time. And because of that, with that principle in mind, we used to say that what was the great thing about that music at that time was that you could attach anything to it. It's bare skeleton. You could add soul to it. You could add techno to it. You could add jazz to it. Anything you could add to the skeleton of it, you know? And we thought that was what it was all about, pushing it further, pushing the machines, making them do things they're not really designed to do and so on, and pushing it further. And that was our drive to push things further. So other people might have developed a sound and thought, oh, I'm going to stick on that path. We wasn't about that. We'd do what they done for 20 seconds and move on, kind of like within the track, to our own detriment as well, you know?
Sure.
But you have to understand at that stage, I had no musical training whatsoever. I went to school being a building and construction, doing draftsman and all that type of stuff. That's what I went to college for. I didn't know anything about scales at that time. I didn't know bugger all, you know? And we was just a bunch of kids messing about on this equipment, having fun. And our schooling, our learning of how to produce music and so on was out there like that. You can see us getting better and better, and you can hear our mistakes. And some of the records are awful, like horrible. I don't want to hear them again, you know. But I'm glad I went through that process. I'm glad it made me tough, as in there's a difference between watching, spectating something, and actually participating. And I'm proud of the fact that I was in the mix, doing my thing, you know what I mean? And mistakes and all, warts or whatever, I had the balls to show, you know what I mean? Even if you don't like what I made, I still had the balls to say, here you are. That's what I done, you know? Yeah. And that's one thing that I think that's helped me to be brave. So if someone comes up to me and says, oh, I don't like that or whatever, I don't care. It doesn't bother me. Sure. I don't take it personal. I know it's just that. Yeah. 'Cause I know I've got something else they're going to like over there.
Sure. What was also quite exciting about the time was it was the first time that, you know, samplers were readily available and affordable with decent enough sampling time, and the fact that you had the opportunity to reinterpret loops and breaks and personalise them. So I guess even though you, like a lot of us, weren't necessarily classically trained, what that brought was a whole generation of musicians who brought up expressing themselves with digital tools, you know? Yeah. So drum and bass wouldn't have, or jungle wouldn't have been produced by a classically trained musician, because it's, you know, if you really want to break it down, it's not music, do you know what I mean? But what it is, it's really articulate music programming, you know? And I think for me, what's really interesting is that, you know, even though, as we said earlier, your programming, you know, you were within a genre, but you had your own take on it, which has definitely stayed with you throughout your career, as far as I'm concerned. So not only did you release records and yourself with As For Hero, you also did, you know, different guises, okay, on the same label. What were they?
I was going to say something. The guises, you know what they came out of?
What they come out of?
They came out of Pacific Distribution going bust.
Okay.
And us not getting paid for the first 3 releases.
Do you want to talk us through that?
Well, basically, we sold a whole load of records, and then the distribution company went under.
Okay.
So, in order to make, and this was like, it was the very early stages of our record label imprint, so it really hurt, and it was scary at the same time. But the manufacturers knew about, you know, everyone knew in the industry about what had happened, and they gave us a period of time to pay the money back. Okay. So they gave us credit. And so we worked really hard releasing more records. Now we couldn't release everything, we couldn't make 10 Full Hero records in the space of 6 months. It'd be ridiculous. So that's why we started doing the pseudonyms.
Okay.
That's how that came about.
Just to churn things out.
So we made Take 9, we've done this, and we've done that, and we've done that, just to make it. That's what it's out of necessity. That
I mean, that whole, you know, distributor busting thing is quite a common theme throughout, you know, dance music for sure. You know, we all have got, you know, significant stories. But, you know, from that, you know, you got to release records with, you know, early Doma records and early Goldie records, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, we've done.
I mean, how did that come about?
He just annoyed Gus at some place and then gave him his demo or whatever, and then we just put some stuff out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you like it at the time?
Yeah, it was good. It was mad. It was different. He had his own sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it was a bit crazy. It was. Yeah.
And obviously you brought out Sage's early releases as well, right?
Yeah. There's quite a lot of people we put stuff out in the 90s for.
So would you say, because you grew up in North London, Dollis Hill, would you say that you guys were creating your own sound? We talk about you having a distinct sound, in terms of programming, but would you say that you were representing, your area of London the same way perhaps people from South London?
I don't think it was about our area. I think it was just about a sound that we gravitated towards. I think that's what it was. We passed on some records that people would have thought, oh yeah, you should have put that out, but it didn't fit. We didn't, it wasn't our thing. So.
And you started DJing a lot more about that time, right, as well?
Oh, in like more club world and stuff, yeah. Because before that I was in, it was blues dances and stuff like that, yeah.
Well, you played at blueses?
Of course, yeah. That's where I come from.
What were you playing?
Two-step. Not two-step,
not
house
two-step,
stuff, yeah.
You mean kind of two-step?
Yeah, soul stuff, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I used to select that stuff.
Is that you?
That was my part of the sound, yeah.
I've had an idea for a club night. Trust me, it's fine. It's going to switch up. Yeah, okay. So I want to play a Tech 9 record. And the reason why I want to play a Tech 9 record is because Tech 9 was your first, I guess, independent project after you've set up a few For Hero releases. The whole Reinforced thing was, by hook or by crook, was making inroads in the world of drum and bass. But also this was the beginning of you kind of being frustrated, I guess. So I want to play that. You haven't heard that in a while, right?
No, I haven't heard that in a while.
Talk us through it, man.
Well, it's hip hop, innit? Those days it's hip hop. I used to buy a lot of, I still do, out there beat digging all the time. You're just looking for, number one, my principle was to buy stuff that I wanted to hear musically, and then afterwards, I wonder if I can sample part of this or whatever. So that's what that was.
Okay. I mean, what's interesting is that, you brought out a Tech 9 album, right?
Yeah.
And it was almost like, for me, it was interesting because half of it was kind of like your, For Hero Reinforced kind of
drum
guys,
bass stuff, yeah.
And then half of it was almost like a ode back to when you started making music.
Yeah, when I started with hip hop, yeah.
Do you think that was intentional?
Yeah, I wanted people to know that it was more than just drum and bass. Mm-hmm. We would. It was funny them days. It's like you'd make all that drum and bass. People were funny, man. They were fucking. Some of them were crazy because basically they were so into their stuff. Which I get that you're passionate about something, but they were so into their music that they couldn't see anything else. They were blinkered. It's drum and bass, just like that. Anything that wasn't, even if it got to the stage whereby, if it wasn't 170 BPMs, if it was any lower than that, they didn't want to know about it. It was crazy like that. And I saw all that and I'm just like, at the same time when they're behaving like that and we're releasing those records, we're still playing in house parties in St. Raph's Estate or Church Road,
Wembley, right?
Yeah, that's Harlesden stuff, yeah. We're still doing parties, playing two-step and soul records and all that, They don't know that the people that they're listening to their music and whatever going so hard, they're actually still listening to soul and jazz or whatever and playing it on a weekend, Well,
Well, there are people
which
who
was mad to me. So.
Yeah, but but what's interesting, obviously, you've had the schooling. Again, not everyone's had the opportunity to kind of embrace music at a young age and kind of see music evolve and also see characteristics in music across genres. And actually, it's all right to have people who are kind of purists.
No, I understand that, but but you can't ignore. You can't eat chips every day. You need a balanced diet. Can't eat chips every day. You're going to end up fucked up. You know what I mean? You need some salad. You need some greens, you know what I mean?
This is true.
Yeah, you need a balanced diet. Don't get me wrong, I love cake.
Yeah.
But I can't eat cake all the time, can I?
True.
You get what I'm saying? My favourite might be cake, but I can't eat all the time.
Understood.
So that's why I don't agree with you.
Yeah, but I was just making a point.
I know. I hear you, but I'm just saying I don't agree with them for that.
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
Then perhaps, when you have the next opportunity, perhaps share that metaphor with the next purist. That was a wonderful metaphor.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
They won't talk to me anyway.
No, but it's good, getting back to the whole techno thing, because I think for me, again, what's interesting is that I remember listening to that record at the time, and I was that person. I was like, how can you make a record that's got half drum and bass and half? Because I was a bit like that, So maybe I should have had my salad at the time,
You eat your greens now, aren't you?
Of course I am. Of course I am. My kale, I've got my kale going on, mate. So it's all good. Okay, so next phase. So you went from full hero reinforced, drum and bass, Dego's getting frustrated, you're kind of, you don't want to be confined by a certain style of music or a genre of music. You have the opportunity to take your project a stage further by signing to Talking Loud. And I guess it was also an opportunity to refine your sound. Can you talk us through why you felt the need, apart from I guess the creative side of things, you had the opportunity to, obviously, you had a bit of a budget, talk us through why you made the step away from perhaps a sample-based music form to the one that took on a bit more of a kind of live form.
Well, we used to follow hip-hop, and we saw that what happened to hip-hop in those days when they were sampled, and how much they had to pay for those samples, and how much of their publishing got taken away from them. There was no way I was going to be on a major label and make this stuff and earn nothing from it. So I better put the work in and create your own things and earn from that. And also, at the end of the day, the label had made a commitment that, some people get excited by these advances by record labels, but at the end of the day, it's like you're going to have to pay it back some way or another.
Sure.
So we had to strategize a way that we could be ourselves and also recoup as well, because we didn't want to just do the one album, So it's a combination of those things. Plus, I've been listening to, we've been listening to Charles Stepney for how many years? We've been listening to the Mazel brothers for how many years? Those were our heroes, you know what I mean? Those are my heroes, you know what I mean? King Tubby and people like that, those are my heroes. So, all right, it's our turn to go. Let's try and contribute something to this world of music. So we said, what would you really would love to do? And I remember, we should work with strings. No one doesn't really do that nowadays. You know what I mean? And the first time I had written something, and then I had it replayed by the quartet or whoever it was doing it at the time.
Sure.
That was it. That was a moment, Sure.
So let's just to reiterate. So I guess in the writing process, again, you're not classically trained. So I guess by hook or by crook, you were scoring.
Notator, man.
There you go.
It's a great thing.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Notator was the big brother of Creator sequencing program, and Notator was a bit more, I guess. He had a kind of more classic, songwriting aspect to it, as in classical. So you were literally programming MIDI notes, creating.
No, play it on the keyboard or whatever, and then it comes up through the notator. You see it there, and you just print it out and say, "Hey, I'll play that." That's it.
literally.
Literally.
And you're like, whoa.
Although when we had to do the strings, the chord, you had to separate, obviously, because the cello plays that one, and you know.
Yeah. So there's an education in.
There was education. Yeah, we had to
course.
learn a lot of things through all that time as well. Yeah.
So like all of us, when a patch is called string pad. On a module or a sampler, then you know at some point actually string pad is a bit more involved.
Yeah,
a bit more involved. Sure. So I'm going to play. I'll play a couple of things from that time.
Okay.
First thing I'll play. Actually, I'm just going to play it a little bit of it. All right. So just to give some context, that was absolutely super fresh at the time. Absolutely. I mean, you were one of the first, as you mentioned earlier, you were one of the first bands, DJs, producers, whatever you want to call it, who made the transition from using hardware samples technology to basically making a sound that was of the time, but on a production tip and on a kind of, I guess, on a feeling tip, it was seamless. It was fantastic. Big up.
All right, thanks.
So that was with the wonderful Imanu Azuri, track entitled 9x9. You're pondering, what are you going back there?
That album, them days was a lot of organisation going into making those records. It was, it wasn't just as simple as, doing something and then someone just plays it. I remember we used to have an Otari tape machine, 2-inch tape and all that. I remember a lot of people, it was the early days of, what did they used to have? They had Cubase, which you could record audio into those days.
VST, Cubase.
VST, yeah. And we didn't have that. And we didn't have the Logic we hadn't converted to Logic.
Audio at the time.
Yeah. So we were still doing tape. And I remember musicians sometimes said, oh, well, we paid 16, you can loop it or whatever. And we're like, no, you know what I mean? I remember all that type of stuff. It was, I had better chops them days as well, in a certain way, because I had to play all the way down the tape.
Okay, rather than just playing
looping
it.
and then
okay.
looping out, yeah.
Okay. So I guess for you, this, it's almost like, does it feel like it's kind of a world away, a generation away of time when you listen back to it now?
Yes, it's like, it's so long ago, I'm almost detached from it.
Okay.
In a kind of way. I don't know.
But the irony is, it feels kind of fresh now. There are bands out there who are making a lot of money touring that style of, that hybrid of kind of, live drum and bass,
Yeah.
But it's okay. So I'm going to play another one from that time.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just play it and then let's talk. Okay, I'm going to paint you a scenario. I'll never forget the dance, the room at the time. It was almost like a unanimous, okay. It was like signature tune. It was like, I'll never forget it. The energy in that room when that played was just magical. The whole experience was magical, so I want to thank you for bringing that to the world. I'm sure you haven't heard it for a while. and I'm sure it's kind of bringing back memories, lots of different kinds of memories. But can you tell us, talk us through the writing process of that track?
I started off with the beat. I done the drums first. Then I played the bass. Played the bass. And in fact, I played the bass, And then what did I do after that? I worked out the chords on the roads.
Can we just talk about the beat for 1 minute? Because I think for me, what's, again, significant about this recording is it was perhaps one of the first tracks you'd produced that almost set the trend for, what can be considered broken beat, I think, in my opinion. Obviously, you were in the zone making lots of different tracks at the same time, but do you think you were inspired by, what inspired you to write a beat in such a way? I know it might be quite difficult to...
It's the same principles as chopping up drum and bass, isn't it? And what did we like about drummers, basically, drum solos? What do you like about drum solos in jazz music is when they go off and come back on with the groove. Is those movements within the drum beat. So... remember, I've got to give a big up to IG as well, because IG was on that as well and showing me about that type of thing, So that a lot of that is beat-wise for that song is down to IG culture as well. And, so, if you're into breaks and whatever and you like the way they shuffle, you like the way James Brown's drummers were working and stuff, what was the magical parts that was great about the beats is when the drummer had the groove and then moved slightly away and you're like, oh shit, and you moved it, you know what I mean? Just those slightly shifts is what, and it's just creating that as a norm basically in a track. That's what was going on there, I think, with that music. So it's like everything doesn't have to be on the one. Everything doesn't have to be bam, 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 bam. You know what I mean? It doesn't,
In certain parts of town it has to be, but that's okay.
Yeah, not in my part of town it ain't, you know what I mean? So, there's so much you can do, So why not? Like, why not take the sickest part of what influences a drummer and try and make that be the groove instead? So I think that's where that comes from. And I've done the in fact, a lot of it is kind of demo still, because I was going to get someone else to play the bass and everything else, but then everyone liked the way it sat and said, let's leave it like that, Dego, it's all right, because at the end of the day, it was the song. Another thing I've learned is like, one of the hardest things to do, I think, is to make a great instrumental track. And I'm talking about great. I'm not talking about, I like this instrumental track, whatever. In
terms of having...
Great. I'm talking like Herbie Hancock fucking great, you know what I mean? Yeah? That shit's hard to have those hook lines or whatever. But what's easier and what's better is if you've got a strong song, if you've got a set of lyrics that touch people or reach people in a certain way, or melody that's sung within those lyrics that can get to people, it will last forever. So when that came on the album and I started asking people to do remixes, everyone wanted to remix that track. Because the song, and I believe it wasn't about the music, it was about because they liked the song was strong enough for them to do whatever they wanted to do. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's not the greatest song, but at the time, it spoke to a lot of people. Of course it did, yeah. And it's a diss record, don't you?
Is it a diss record now?
It's a diss record.
Talk about the diss then.
They got dissed.
Okay, right. Let's go.
That's it.
So that's all we're gonna hear.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, so is it about holding it down, as in?
Yeah, it's about not getting too excited and losing yourself, and keeping grounded. Okay. So I've seen a lot of people at that time be in a lot of positions of opportunity and just squander it, acting the fool, and that's what that was about.
Okay. So you wrote it with Lady Alma?
Yeah? No, I wrote the lyrics. I wrote everything on that record. Okay.
Because you had to hold it down?
Yeah. She came and sung it.
Okay.
I got into writing lyrics because I used to rap.
Mm-hmm. Oh, did you now?
Yeah, I used to do rap, yeah.
We're going to talk,
No, well, I wasn't a good rapper, but what was great about it made me... Once I opened the door, basically, I wasn't scared to write shit down and do it and rap it. And I used to perform and all that type of shit. And I wasn't good, but I wasn't. It made me not scared to be able to express myself that way. And so most of my songs, they come from if you think about it, they really come from like a rap kind of way of writing.
So the melodic.
It's more like you could imagine someone rapping it, really.
Yeah.
But you could take rap lyrics and get someone to sing it, and it's just a whole nother thing. So that's what, So that's how I got to do all that stuff, yeah.
And obviously the wonderful voice of Lady Alma really
and Alma kills it with her voice.
Sure, yeah. So at the time, it was a bit of a, particularly in the scene, it was the signature, kind of hit record. And along with the Bugs remix, it was a fantastic package. I mean, was it a success?
No, not in regards to a major label. It wasn't. But then it was at the point where Universal came along and unfortunately our timing was bad because that came along. A lot of record labels got dropped at that time and so on. And it was all
Universal
turmoil.
bought their...
Yeah, they bought out everything in it. So, there was no more Mercury Records, there's no more this, that and the other. So, it was a underground hit, but it wasn't a hit as in, Do
you think it would have been possible for it to be
maybe, possibly it could have been. You know what I mean? If Universal hadn't, that takeover hadn't happened at that time, it could have been. You know what I mean? Because it made a lot of noise on its own. Without the push that it would have hoped to have got. But such is life.
So you set up 2000black, obviously inspired by the Warriors record. And that was distributed by Goya stuff, yeah?
That's not to begin with, but in the end it went to Goya,
right.
yeah.
So I'm going to play a couple of records from that time. And again, for me, what's really interesting is, again, getting back to Hold It Down and how that was almost like a signature track, not just in terms of the top line, but in terms of the rhythm, as I just said earlier. But it's almost like, to me, that set the blueprint for perhaps a direction you went with a lot of your recordings on 2000black.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, starting with this, in a particular order. Nice. It's got me puzzled.
I'm going to figure it out.
There you go. So you're a bit like the kind of statement chorus person. A lot of just going through a lot of your recordings, a lot of your choruses or vocal phrases are almost like statements in their own right. That's intentional, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got to have something to say.
Of course.
There's no point faffing around and not saying anything at all.
That's probably me. No, you're right.
So, yeah.
No, it's good. I think that's, again, an underlying theme with a lot of your vocals, or lyrics, I should say. So this track has the wonderful keyboard virtuoso-ness of Kaidi.
Kaidi's playing on it as well, yeah.
Yeah. So how did you meet Kaidi, and how did that,
G-Force and Seiji introduced me to Kaidi. He came over to do a session one day for their album, and that's how I met him. And we got along well, and then started working together after that, yeah.
So what is it about Kaidi that complements what you do?
Well, we both we kind of both got the kind of same background, and we love music, both of us. And Kylie's hype. He's a hype man in the studio. It's fun working with him. And I knew when I was working with Kylie, I hadn't had that much fun for a long time. Okay. And that was important. It's you know, sometimes it's not about the finished product. Sometimes it's about the process. And it was a fun process with Kylie. And I learned a lot from him as well. You know, there's a lot of things he's taught me as well. And, you know, and I've improved consequently, you know what I mean? So.
But what's really interesting is that, you know, I mean, to me, it's, you know, I mean, obviously I'm very much part of the music. So to me, it feels like it makes sense to me. But as you said earlier, you know, with something like Hold It Down, which clearly in our eyes, it was a hit record, but in the grander scheme of things, it was just an underground smash, right?
Yeah.
And this has kind of been a theme throughout your career. You know, you've always had tracks that have had popularity or notoriety in the scene, but nothing's, you know, to be honest, has really kind of transcended, not the way, you know, in the drum and bass or jungle days, you know, your contemporaries like Goldie or, you know, Ronnie Size obviously went on to do bigger, you know, you're always that band, For Hero were always that band or are always that band who everyone knows, everyone kind of loves the music, but didn't quite, you know, quite get that. I mean, do you feel that?
I don't.
Does it, you know?
I mean, if you say it like that, I guess that's how it is. It's true. It's true, but I mean, that's the music. That's where the difference is. There's music and then there's music business. You know, and maybe our team wasn't strong enough business-wise. Maybe our ways of networking wasn't strong enough, so on and so forth. Maybe I think my career's always fallen short because, you know, I've never had a manager. You know, well, I've got like someone doing a bit of management now just recently, but you know, I've never had a manager at the times when you could have been striking while the iron's hot. You know, I've had long periods without a booking agent. You know what I mean? Things like that. It's like I've always fall short on that side of things, you know. But that's because I like to work with people that I like. I'm a bit spoilt like that. That's the problem with, you know what I mean? Business is business, but I can't help but need to have some sort of respect for the people that I work with. So until I find someone I like, then I'll do business with them. If I don't like them, I'm not going to do business with them. I don't care. I don't care how much they're offering or whatever, you know? So I guess that's my fault in some ways why certain things haven't blown up how they could have done possibly. But then who's to tell? Of
course.
You know?
I mean, another take on it is the fact that you have a fantastic catalogue. You know, do you know what I mean? That you know, a very rich catalogue that is I guess it's ripe for discovery. You know, so it's you know, who knows? It's the best days are yet to come in some respect, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
You know, so with 2000black, you know, lots of fantastic recordings, you know, very much, a lot of them signature, you know, very much part of the whole, you know, West London sound, if you want to call it that, the broken beat scene. You released on IG's label, you released on your own label, various different guises, DKD, you know, who knows, countless. I'm going to play one more record from that era, and I want you to explain it to us. Like, explain.
Okay.
Because this, and I'll never, again, you know, there was a Hold It Down moment, and then there was this moment, which I'll play you. And again, this was one of those records that, okay, he's done it again. He's done it a few times, but this was a he's done it again kind of moment. Talk.
What do you want to know? I don't understand.
Bass. Come on, man. How? That bass is like. Thank you. I mean, I need to give you some context, right?
Okay.
So that box has been in my box, in my record box, since the day I got it from Mike Wagoya. And I can't tell you how many times people have gone bananas over that record. But not just that, the bass works on every system. It doesn't matter whether you're some horrible indie music sound system business going on, it will cut through. And obviously at Plastic people in London, it's all over. It's all fucking over when the bass comes in. All over. All over. Over. But here's the thing. I need to add to that, right? So the bass comes in, as you all heard. So it's very warm, deep, round, cuts through all systems. But then you've got this other layer that comes in, and which is kind of I guess a filter thing that comes in halfway through. And again, it's as rich, as deep. That's always kind of fascinated me, because so I need
That's just a rinse, that tune.
What do you mean by a rinse?
As in it took an hour to make or whatever kind of thing. It's a rinse. So it's a rinse. It's just for DJing, you know what I mean? Which don't, and one is something heavy to play, and that's it. So it's my mini moog. That's what it is. I'm playing my mini moog, and that's why the drums just do the same damn thing all the way through, because it's just a rinse. It's like, But
they're Dego drums, so it doesn't sound as if it's repetitive.
Yeah. So, and then the top line, the lines you're talking about, that's the mini moog still again, just different, whatever, higher up, and it's I felt I was, I like playing a lot of musical stuff, but sometimes you need, I like I said with the diet, with you know what I mean? You can't have one thing alone. I needed to mix up sets with something else a bit more raw. So that's what that was made for. Just some raucous tune type thing. You know what I mean?
Like
people love bass, so
sure. So that's like steak right about now, right?
Yeah. So there it is. It's just a roller. You know what I mean? Rollers is, you hit the right note.
Sure.
You can just roll with it.
Don't mess with me tune.
Yeah,
as you said, it serves a purpose. No, fantastic. And you've got Kaidi, and you obviously twist it up at the end because Kaidi comes in with the...
No, there's no Kaidi on
That's
that
all
one.
you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, it works. So, again, big up for that.
Cool.
Do you like it?
Do I like?
Do you like it?
It's all right. To tell the truth, the more musical tracks I make, I can still listen to. The ones that are not that musical, I have a period of it, and then I'm like, yeah, okay.
Is that because you want to consider yourself a virtuoso? Is that, what's that about?
That's where I would like to aim for. I want to make music. I love music. I think some people get too caught up in drums and effects and so on, but what is it really? It's music. Why am I still playing Donald Byrd Wind Parade? Why am I still playing Blackbird's records? Why am I still playing James Brown records? Because these guys were, they slept with their guitar, they slept with their bass. Bad man, you know what I mean? They went to whatever school, got all their chops and played great tight records, and their melodies and so are so strong that they're still relevant today, and I think like a great song, if you're musically strong as well, it will stand the test of time. And those things are good as rollers and all that, but you have to make a certain type of roller for that to last a long time. You know what I mean? A lot of people could say to me they still got it in their set and all that stuff, and that's great. But when I listen to some of those things, I just hear the mistakes. I just hear where I could have made it better or what I could have done to make that a better tune or whatever. And then but I'm cool with it being like that because I know how to let go of the stuff because I know I'm packing some other shit anyway. I'm confident that I can make another 10 cousin cockroaches. It's easy. You know what I mean? And I can make another hold it down or whatever, but even better. I'm confident in that ability. There's no point sometimes holding on to these things. I've seen people hold on to it. 4 years down the line, they still ain't released it. Fuck that shit, man. You got to let go and have confidence in the ability that you can make next one better than that. You know what I mean? Just keep on top of your game. You know what I mean? So.
And you're definitely someone who's...
Like if you to tell you the truth, if we was doing this, okay, and I got to choose the tracks from around the time, no one would know the tracks. They're all B-side different ones that I think are the ones that are the seminal ones or whatever. But it's not my choice.
But then that's also
the people speak what they like, so that's how it goes. Yeah.
But then that's also part of one of the characteristics of your DJ sets. You know, you play DJ sets that people don't expect. You know, you always bring curveballs in. You always play in a certain way that's so personal. You know, it's when Dego's playing because you play in a certain way, which is, you know, again, if you haven't heard Dego play, you can hear him play tomorrow. But it's definitely signature DJ, very characteristic. Questions?
Hello.
Hello.
I was just wondering, like all the artists tonight seems to have said that back in the days they were not questioning, they were not like asking themselves what was the next step, like just easily going. What do you think that today, like right now, we are questioning ourselves a lot about the scene? Do you think it makes the scene better in some ways? That we are asking ourselves all about the past, what's the evolution about the scene? Or was much better when we were just like moving forward and everyone was...
Yeah, I mean, I could be like
flow.
very, you know, look at things with rose-tinted glasses and all that and be like, oh, it was so much better than how we were just free-spirited and just done what we done, you know. But there's something to be said nowadays where the younger generation are a bit more methodical in the way of doing things, and I think they are developing a way of having a bit more impact when they're doing something because it's a bit more contrived, you know. But at the same time as that, I think they've lost some.
Sound.
Yeah, there's some sort of it's too predetermined, too clinical in a certain way, and the spontaneity and the you know what is supposedly
The soulful.
basically.
Yeah.
I would like to believe that people that do music because they love music first. That's what I would hope for. But I can see sometimes people do music because they believe they can make money out of it. And that's two very different things, you know? I prefer when I'm getting someone doing it in a pure sense. And then if they happen to make money from that, it's brilliant. You know, yeah, it's your intentions, where you're coming from, you know? So there's pros and cons to it, really, you know? And I think at the same time there's been, because we wasn't so, some of us have not been so business-minded, per se, that we've missed out on certain ways of executing certain ideas, you know what I mean? So there's, you know, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, it's a fantastic question because again, you know, that's you know, we can all talk about, you know, I mean, I think every generation of music, including this generation in 10 years' time, will say it was a heyday then or whatever. You know, every generation has that, and you can look at things nostalgically. But you know, even though perhaps your music making was free-spirited, I mean, it was definitely challenging at times. You know, and it's not easy. You know, whether you're whether you're running a label, as as in Reinforced, or signed to a label as in Talking Loud, or you know, sign a licensing deal with the likes of the Silly Brown Records. It's all a journey, isn't it? And there's peaks and troughs, and there's you know, it's a wonderful challenge. You know, you know, taking a leaf out of young lady's question. I mean, what would you say has been the most significant thing that you've learned from your 20 plus years being in the music industry?
If you just be honest with yourself, I think You know, I know when I've cut corners. I know when I haven't given it my all. And at the same time as that, also, I've learned to be confident in my abilities as well, that I can do it. I can still do it, you know what I mean? That I still think I've got something to say, and I think that I think my work ain't done, just not quite yet. I still think I've got more to do for a little bit.
Cool.
You know.
Well, clearly you have, because you haven't stopped releasing. You released at least 2 records this year, right? You know.
Yeah, I've got a couple of records out. Yeah.
You've got more to come, obviously.
Yeah.
And you've got this. You did this release for Alex on Eglo.
Yeah.
Tell us about how that. Cool. Thank you,
One
man.
person bought it.
You know that, man. It's a good record. There you go, man. Thank you. And obviously Alex is a fan. Did the record come by that way?
Yeah. It's just talking. He's like, oh yeah, you want some records? Yeah. I gave him some tracks. And he's like, oh, I want to put them out. I was like, okay.
Okay.
That's it. Simple as that.
So simple things.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll play one of the tracks from that EP. I'm going to play the track with Kaidi. Was this a rinse, would you say? Or was it, because it feels like it was another happy jam.
Just a happy jam.
Yeah.
And then time just flies by.
Yeah,
Because
sure.
you're happy.
Okay, cool. Let's hear that. Signature sound, very warm. You on the drums, right? Yeah.
Drums and keyboards and Kaidi done the drums on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, how did you divvy up the
Just
work
whatever goes, isn't it? I think what we usually do is someone plays chords at one part and the other person plays the bass line, and then when we switch and do the change, the other person switches and does the chords, and the other person does the bass. That's like the typical. That's a loose formula of how we kind of do things, but I can't. Sometimes it's chop and change and whatever, and you know what I mean.
But the fantastic thing is you've got a fantastic working relationship with Kaidi, right? And he obviously adds a lot to not just your composition, but also to your life, I guess. So I guess, is it really important for people to? I know it's an obvious question, but it's really important for people to have collaborators that you really enjoy spending time with, right?
Well, there's no point in collaborating with someone you can't stand, is there?
Some people do, man. Some people do.
Well, good luck to them.
When it's about money. So
you see, but money's overrated, man. Seriously, money's overrated. Like, I can't live life constantly worrying about money, about having money or whatever. If I've got money, I've got money. If I haven't got money, I haven't got money. I come from a poor working class family. My parents had nothing, okay? They came from nothing, bought a house and that stuff and went back to Jamaica to retire, okay? I can't be hung up about money. If I've got it, I've got it. If I haven't got it, I haven't got it. I will be able to survive. I'm strong like that, you know what I mean? I'm not worried about that shit, Can't be driven just solely by money. That is the reason why the world's so fucked up nowadays, because everybody's just solely thinking about money. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. We need money to survive, to be able to whatever, and you got to provide for your kids and so on and so forth. I get that, but there comes a point, man. Like, how much money do you really fucking need, man? Come on. Sure. It's boring, this money shit.
Amen to that. It's been amazing. Thank you, Dego.
All right. Thank you.